How can you change your workplace culture? This is the most frequent question I get as a workplace culture expert. And a lot of people say, they'll challenge me on this. They'll say, I don't think you can even change a workplace culture. Like, it's impossible to turn a culture around, especially in a big organization. It'll never happen, so why bother? Well, I'm here to tell you that it is totally possible to change your workplace culture. I've been speaking, researching, writing about workplace cultures for over 20 years, and I have so many stories of organizations that have shifted their cultures dramatically. In my latest book, Small Moments, Big Outcomes, How Leaders Create Cultures That Fuel Extraordinary Results, I share dozens of stories of organizations that have shifted their culture in dramatic ways. So after this, I've got some tips on how you can shift your workplace culture.
Let's energize your workplace. Mike's here for some serious fun.
I've got 7 tips to consider on how to shift your workplace culture. Now, of course, we could spend an hour on each one of these 7 tips, so I'm just hitting the headlines here. But if you are going to effectively change your culture, these are some things I think you absolutely have to consider. Starting with number 1, just embracing your workplace culture as your number 1 priority. Because let's face it, if you, as a leader, if your leadership team, if your employees even, don't understand the importance of workplace culture, nothing's going to change. So if you don't treat it as a priority, as the most important thing that needs to change, then realistically nothing's going to change, is it? Your culture is your number 1 competitive advantage. It is your number 1 driver of success, no matter what business you're in, no matter how big or small your company is, no matter what you do, culture drives success. Culture, in my mind, in my research, time and time again, has been proven to be more important than strategy. Yes, you need a good strategy. I'm not knocking the importance of having a good business strategy, but we know ultimately that what drives success in an organization in so many different levels, in so many different areas, is your culture. So you need to start by selling the importance of culture, championing the importance of culture. You need to be a cheerleader for why culture matters and embrace the importance of it as your top priority if anything is going to shift in your workplace. Number 2, you kind of need to know where you're going. So you need to assess the current state of your culture and then decide, where do you want to get to? Otherwise, nothing's going to change, right? So ask some tough questions. What's not working right now in your culture very well that you would like to fix? What is working well? What are your unwritten rules for behaviors? Every organization has unwritten rules. Your employees are guiding their decisions and behaviors on some of their unwritten rules that they have internalized about what it's like to work in your workplace culture. What do your veteran employees tell the new kids on the block about your culture? You know what happens? New people come and work in your organization. The end of the first week, you go for a beer, you go for coffee. The old timers pull out a pipe. They start smoking their pipe and they say, hey, kid, I've seen stuff. I've seen stuff I can't unsee. And they start talking about your culture. Well, what are those conversations they are having? Because they're defining, from their point of view, what your culture is. Do you match your hype right now in your culture? If you go to your About Us section on your website, are you really living up to those values, to the things you say your organization is all about? You need to challenge yourself with these questions and then ask yourselves, okay, what do we want to change? Where do we want to go? Where do we want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? What kind of organization do we want to be? What is going to define us? What values are going to define us? What is our vision, mission for a more inspiring culture? What are we going to treat as top priorities? What do we want our legacy to be? What is our cultural advantage compared to all our competitors? And can we use something like the Wheel of Change framework to help us at least start a process of shifting our culture? So the Wheel of Change, dirt simple. What is one thing we all need to commit to keep doing in order to create a better workplace culture? What is one thing we need to create or start doing to build a better culture? And what is one thing we all need to commit to stop doing if we are going to build a better workplace culture. Number 3, you need to hire relentlessly with your culture in mind. You need to hire, onboard, and train new employees, and well, for that matter, all of your employees, about what your cultural norms are, what your values are. You need to hire, though, for your culture. You need to bring people on board that are going to move the culture in the direction that you have identified, where you want to move your culture to. It is absolutely critical to hire, not just for a culture match, but for culture growth. And you need to celebrate and champion then your culture on your website. You need to bring it to life, not just in a little blah, 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 boring kind of way with a couple of sentences, with fun videos, with a top 10 list, with testimonials from your customers and your employees. You need to bring your culture to life and sell your culture to attract the kind of people that you want in your organization and attract the kind of people that are going to help you move the needle on your culture. Number 4, you need to bring those lovely values that define your workplace culture to life in meaningful ways. Now look, every organization has a list of wonderful values, right? You put it on the coffee mugs, the mouse pads, the posters with the puppies and rainbows and unicorns, and you get your team once a year maybe together and you all hold hands and you sing "We Are the World" because your values make you feel so darn good, right? Here's the challenge to you though. Every organization has a list of these wonderful values. Every organization, well, not everyone, but something like 93% of all organizations have a list of wonderful, inspiring values. In fact, lots of companies have the exact same values. And yet, Company A is a soul-sucking, fun-sucking, draining kind of workplace, where Company B is rocking it, winning all those Best Places to Work awards. So what's going on? It's because in Company B, winning all those awards, they remember those cliche sayings. Actions speak louder than words, and talk is cheap. So they make sure those values actually mean something. They aren't just words on a piece of paper, on a poster. Look at it this way. Who's going to disagree with any of these wonderful values that you have? You think somebody's going to disagree with a value like teamwork? Do you think they're going to say in a job interview, "I want you to know I'm not a team player"? Or safe work environment? Do you think anyone's going to say, "Yeah, safety? Not really for me. I'm a bit of a daredevil, a bit of a risk taker"? No one's going to say that. You have to bring these to life. So you need to do 3 things to make sure your values actually mean something. You need to translate your values to bring them to life. Number 2, you need to model your values. And number 3, you need to hold employees and yourself accountable for your values and celebrate and recognize employees when they live your values out loud. And when you do that, cultures can shift in substantive ways. For example, I talk about this in my latest book, Small Moments, Big Outcomes, AFA JC&Co, this company in Copenhagen, Denmark that I spent some time with, where they came up with 4 new core values, and then they did a very simple exercise. They did a values blitz, where once a week, everybody was challenged to live that value, just the one value, in an outrageously loud way for 1 week. And then week 2 will go down to value 2, week 3, value 3, week 4, value 4. You get the picture. They cycle back to the top. They keep doing this. They live it in an outrageously loud way, so the needle goes way over here. Maybe we can't sustain it way over here in the long run, but hey, for a week, we can just go crazy and see what's possible. And so they did that. They brought their values to life in a substantive, meaningful way. And after just about 6 months or so, everything that they measured in their culture improved, and all of their employees agreed with the statement, "I now work for a brand new company." They shifted their culture dramatically in 6 months because they brought their values to life. They imbued them with meaning, and you have to do the same if you are going to shift your workplace culture. Number 5, you need to create culture champions throughout your organization. Yes, culture starts at the top with the senior leadership, but it doesn't end there. It is impossible for the senior leaders to be everywhere and to create a culture on their own. You've got these things called employees that are everywhere. They're all over the place. Every single employee needs to understand that they need to take on the role of a culture champion. Every single employee needs to embrace the notion that everything they do or say either adds to your workplace culture or detracts from your workplace culture. So you need to, as an organization, you need to assess your employees on how well they are contributing to your workplace culture, not just on the work they do. You need to, as some organizations do, equally assess and evaluate them based on their ability to create the kind of workplace that their teammates want to show up to on a Monday morning. So one way that you can help create more culture champions in your workplace is to create a culture squad. Don't call it a committee. Committees kind of suck the life out of things, don't they? Committees are where ideas go to die. So call it something fun, a committee squad, something where people are empowered to bring forward ideas that will improve your culture. Now, you can't outsource culture to one position or one department, but doing this can just be one way that you help spread the message and create some initiatives that will cascade throughout your entire organization. And then consider doing things like having a culture pitch day where people, either individually or in teams, pitch their ideas. You can spoof Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, spoof those shows where people can pitch their best idea for what will improve your culture in the shortest time. Number 6, if you want to shift your culture, you have to get in the habit of, whenever you make a decision, no matter what the decision is, always asking yourself relentlessly, how does this decision reflect our desired culture and how will it impact our desired culture? Because you're never just talking about your strategy or your budget or whatever it may be, your customer service. It is always has to be centered on your culture. So how does this decision both influence our culture and reflect our desired culture? Turn that into a habit. Turn that into a hard and fast habit that you never, ever stray away from. Number 7, you need to celebrate and track your progress to build momentum. We know from a lot of research that celebrating even just small milestones have a disproportionate impact beyond what those small milestones may represent. So again, this means you need to know where you're going and what are the key milestones along the way that you need to celebrate so that you show everybody that things really are changing. And one way to really effectively demonstrate that things are changing is to communicate relentlessly about stories that are happening. Communicate stories that show that you are now doing things different in your organization. This can have a huge impact on employees. Stories that show that you have broken with your past, the old way of doing things, and you are now doing things in a new way. And so share example after example after example. Maybe it's kicking off your meetings with a culture moment or ending your meetings with a culture moment. However you do it, you have to make sure you are communicating relentlessly about the progress that you are making and celebrate everyone's contribution towards your new culture. So I hope that helps. A few ideas there that can really help you shift your culture. And then doing things like having a theme once a month where you focus on one aspect of your culture can really help you focus on different aspects of your culture and help you shift your culture when everyone relentlessly just thinks about one piece of the puzzle that will help you move things along. So what are your thoughts on this? Have you tried to change your culture? Do you need to change your culture? Do you think some of these ideas will work? What have you done? What have you seen in your workplace that has helped your organization shift their culture? Please leave a comment below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my Inspiring Workplaces channel, please hit the subscribe button. Join our growing community as we talk about inspiring workplace cultures where small moments really do create big outcomes.